Okay, we are back, round 6 of SEO Battlezone. I am your referee, your host, whatever you want to call me. My name is Garrett Sussman, Demand Generation Manager at iPullRank. And this week, in the left corner, we have none other than Zach, the Flying Dinosaur Chahalis. It is a name that's going to stick forever. It'll haunt you wherever you go on the internet because this exists. And on the right side, in the right corner, we have none other than Michael, the Rainmaker King. Watch out, he's going to drop SEO bombs all over your face. This week, we are talking all about copycat content. Is it effective? We're going to dive in. So for round 1, because people talk about this on in the world of SEO, don't do copycat content. Don't do copycat content. Round 1, is copycat content a sound SEO strategy? Rainmaker, over to you. What do you got?
Clearly it is, because when you Google, things, you see a ton of different results that talk about the same thing. And I talked about in my blog post how there's going to be a point where everyone can create perfectly optimized content. And, because we have tools like Surfer SEO and what have you that will tell you like, okay, these are the features that are expected. And then you've got tools like Jasper AI and Copy AI and all this that can, well, mostly Jasper AI because of the integration with Surfer SEO, that can take those features and then write you content based on that. And so it pretty much just aligns with how people do marketing in general, right? Like when you think of people, they're like, okay, what are our competitors doing? Let's do that too. There's very little innovation. So yes, it's going to work because it's effectively how organizations work when they create content. But I think that Google also has to get smarter about that, which they are. They understand that, if there is an article that writes about more things than what everyone else is writing, let's give them a boost. And that concept is called information gain. And so, I think forever we're going to have people that just copy other people, but there are going to be incentives for people that can expand the knowledge in what they're writing.
Zach, what do you think? Is copycat content a sound SEO strategy?
To Mike's point, obviously it's working now. I think looking at the landscape, the amount of I don't want to say generic, but duplicate skyscraper content that we just continue to see being served in SERPs that provides little to no differentiation and value to the next result. It's everywhere, right? So obviously it works. We're not talking about flat out duplicate content, but everyone just talking about the same idea, the same topic, the same findings. The results just all start to look the same. So yes, obviously it works, but I do agree with Mike as well that there's going to be increased emphasis from the information gain perspective. What additional value or benefit do you provide that kind of sets you apart from what else is going on there? I think that'll be the big thing. But obviously, to answer the question, yeah, it works. Is it great? No.
There you go. And to that point, so for round 2, obviously copycat content still exists. It's still a sound strategy. How long, or is it already, will it be before original content is actually incentivized in the SERPs? Michael?
It's happening now. Google, they filed a patent in 2020 around the concept of an information gain score. Information gain isn't a new concept in information retrieval either. So it's very much something that I suspect that they've had in their scoring functions for a long time. It's just that they've gotten better at it on the back of transformers and things like that. And so I think even today you're seeing more diversity of information being served in the results. Not dramatically more, but you're seeing more things in a SERPs where it's like, oh yeah, they're touching on something different here. And I think that, again, with there being so many tools that effectively say like, hey, you should be talking about this, it's going to be up to the people that are like true subject matter experts or thought leaders in the space that can talk about something new that, you know, yields value for the actual searcher. And so I think that Google is already trying to surface that. But the real question is, how much does that overpower other signals they might be using? Like, I don't know that it's overpowering links or anything like that, but I think at some point, as they're continuing to figure out what's helpful content, that they may want to turn the dial up on that information game.
Zach, what do you think? Do you think original content is incentivized in the SERPs?
Yes. I mean, but my point was going to be exactly what Mike just said, where it's not the only factor, right? If you're just going to stand up a website yesterday and this is your first piece of content, but you're a subject matter expert on something and you have no authority and you haven't built up your any authority or yourself as an entity, is it going to perform? Debatable. Probably not without some additional help. So yes, I would say it's happening now, but there are other things at play that are going to impact that beyond just the additional benefit of information gain and you providing that new content. There need to be other factors that you're looking at too.
There you go. Okay. And then for round 3, as Google does incentivize more of these SERPs and differentiate, you know, the actual results, whether it's at a personalized sort of SERP or it's more of a just generally diverse query refinement sort of experience, what does that mean for your SEO strategy? Should you be doing anything different going forward, Mike?
Yeah, you should stop just copying everyone else. I mean, yes, of course, to some degree, you do have to have some of the same basic information because, you know, search engines learn from what they've already indexed to determine what they should index next. But you should really be leveraging more expert information, like whether that's interviewing experts and seeing what they think and working those concepts into what you're talking about. Another way to do it, is to look at the related entities to your core entities and see, you know, what are they about? Like, how can we work in information about that? Because that reinforces your topic, but it doesn't necessarily, you know, end up copying what everyone else is doing. Because most of the tools out there aren't leveraging, entity recognition and entity mapping when they're giving you suggestions. They're just looking straight up and down the SERP and saying, these are the words that are being used. These are the questions and header tags, things like that. So if you go the entity route, you're going to be doing something that most people aren't, because there's just far less entity driven tools in SEO to begin with. And it's not something that a lot of people are doing. So going in that direction will help you, you know, differentiate what you're doing versus your competitors, because frankly, it's just less ubiquitous in our space.
There you go. Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all that. I'll take a slightly different perspective of it, right? I mean, in theory, if you're providing that better content, something that goes a bit deeper, talks about something new, talks about something different, it might offset the need in some other areas of your SEO strategy, right? So you could kind of think about like, you know, hey, maybe if I'm providing this content in a good, clear-cut way, maybe I don't have to have as much information in, let's say, structured data markup to support it if we're providing that information in, you know, a way that Google can access it. I don't think it negates having it entirely, but the value of the content might offset like some technical hindrances of your site, for example, depending on how bad it is. That's a different issue for a different day. But I think there's ways that content can offset some of those other considerations of your SEO strategy.
Well, one more thing I want to add here. What it's also going to do is it's going to require that you continually do this. And here's what I mean. When you're the person that adds new content or a new concept to this subject, those tools that we're talking about are going to ultimately pick it up and suggest it to other people. So while you'll be the first and you'll benefit from that for a while, probably, 3 to 6 months later, your competitors will have, rewritten their stuff using your ideas. And so it really just brings into focus that the idea of content optimization needs to be an ongoing thing. It's never just a one and done thing, because your competitors keep moving. And at a certain point, they're going to start following you.
Yeah, it makes sense in terms of there's no 100% safety moat that you can build for your brand. Like the goalposts, if you will, are always changing. And you see that with like the product reviews update that came out, and they're like, oh, make sure you have some insight about a product. Well, once someone learns some insight about the product, everyone's going to be sharing that tip. We see it in social media constantly.
One thing I want to add in real quick, I'll just maybe expand off that idea too. So one thing I'm seeing a lot in SERPs now is Google bringing in the date that the content was added in, right? So I think the other piece to call out there too is you could have that information expansion that other people don't have, but as your competitors start to rewrite their content, and now not only are they expanding on theirs and essentially copycatting you to a point, but now they also have a fresher piece of content. Whether Google sees that as better or not is debatable, depending on quality. But the user now seeing the date in SERPs may also drive more click-throughs to them and take it away from you if you're not also continuing to elevate your content. So there's a lot at play there that needs to be factored in.
It's a great point about the freshness and content decay. And then ultimately, one last point is that, as Google, Ads Mom and Ads Explorer and does this query refinement, being organic result number 20 or number 30 is not going to matter anymore sooner rather than later. It's like you're either the top 10 or you're nothing, because Google's going to have you go down a completely different journey because they're not giving you the result. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's another great point with the diversity of results. One of the things that I suspect will happen more now is that people will be able to go through more of their journey within the same SERP. So rather than starting with a very broad term and then having to refine and changing things based on what they learn, they may find they go, systematically through 3 results, and now they're ready to buy, rather than having to go through a whole, different series of queries. And that's definitely something that you've got to be prepared for. Like, really what it's telling us is that we need more robust content to support that, where you're not just answering the high level questions, you're driving a user through the funnel from that one piece of content. And it also aligns with the whole idea of passage ranking, right? Like, that's a concept where it's effectively, we have a deeper understanding of what copy is or what's being said in this copy. And so we can surface more detailed responses and answers to questions. And so, it's really just telling us you should probably focus on making fewer, more robust pages rather than doing, the pages on the long tail where it's silly paragraph that just answers this one question so I can get as much traffic for all of these keywords as possible. I think we all know that bounce rates on those pages are terrible. So, it's really just pushing us back to focus on more robust and comprehensive things.
There you have it. So when it comes to copycat content, use it until you can't use it. But ultimately, information gain is where it's at. You gotta add new and valuable insights from experts whenever you're doing this, and make your content robust, because people are going to go through the whole journey in the one SERP, because that's just the direction that Google's going. Thank you again. This has been another round of SEO Battlezone with Zach Chahalis and Michael King of iPullRank. We will catch you after the holiday. Peace.